Welcome to Effective Case Management, Key Concepts, and Managing Effectiveness. This training was developed to provide career pathways navigators with information on the various aspects of case management. Those that complete the course and successfully pass the quiz will receive 1 hour of professional development credit. The information for this training was obtained from a technical assistance tool developed by Mathematica Policy Research for the U.S. Department of Labor Employment and Training and the Texas Workforce Commission Choices Guide. This course will address components of case management, why case management is an essential component of a customer-centered program, how case management plays a critical role in helping support and motivating students, and what skills and tools are needed to be effective. Before we get started, let's define what case management is. According to the TWC Choices Guide, case management is the organization and coordination of formal and informal activities, services, and support. It is designed to help individuals become employed and self-supporting. Case management guides and supports the customer on his or her path towards obtaining employment and career advancement. So now that we've defined case management, let's cover information on the components of case management. As we progress through the training, we will share various meaningful quotes with you. I want to thank you in advance for taking the time to read them and reflecting on them and their meaningfulness in the work that you do in adult education and literacy. Before we proceed, you may have noticed this diagram on the right-hand corner of your screen. This is a visual representation of the components of case management. You will continue to see this visual throughout the training. We will highlight the various components in this visual representation as we progress. This visual can also be found in the resource section of the course. Let's start with the components of case management. All case management contains 4 essential components. Let's briefly cover the 4 components, and then we'll review them individually in depth. The first is direct customer service activities. The second is monitoring and documenting services and outcomes on a case-by-case basis. The third is skilled case managers. And the fourth is administrative policies and practices and system infrastructures that supports case managers and the case management function. So now let's review each component. The first component is direct customer service activities. This component consists of several aspects. There are assessment, career planning, coordination of supportive services, and job matching, job placement, and follow-up. The first component is represented at the top of the diagram. As you can see, the customer comes into our program and we walk them through the various components from assessment to career planning, preparation and training, to job matching and placement, and ultimately provide regular follow-up. We will cover each aspect in more detail after we cover all 4 components. So let's move on to the second component. The second component of case management is monitoring and documenting services and outcomes on a case-by-case basis. In the diagram, the second component is represented in the center. We will cover this in more detail after we cover all 4 components. Let's move on to the third component. The third component is skilled case managers. The third component is represented in this diagram by the portion under the large arrow. As you can see, this area covers many of the more personal communication with a customer, from the interview process, building rapport, motivating, supporting, and making our customers feel empowered, ensuring confidentiality, and truly listening to our customers to be sure we catch anything they might say or interpret something in their lack of words. We will continue this in more detail after we cover all 4 components. Now let's move on to the fourth and final component. The fourth component is administrative policies and practices and system infrastructures that support case managers and the case management function. The fourth component is represented at the base of the diagram. So now that we've briefly reviewed the 4 components, let's read them once more before we continue. All case management contains the four essential components: direct customer service activities, monitoring and documenting, skilled case managers, and administrative policies and practices. Let's take a final look at the large diagram again. In adult education and literacy, it is important to remember, as this diagram shows, that our goal for adult education and literacy students is career, completing a certificate or training program, being career ready, finding a job, and keeping the job. We want to make sure that the students we send through our integrated education and training courses are ready for the challenge and ultimately obtain a career. And case management is essential to help students meet this goal. So as we continue, we'll break down each component of case management. Let's review direct customer service activities. First, we look at direct customer service activities, which incorporates assessment, career planning, coordination of support services, and job matching, placement, and follow-up. As we saw from the diagram, there are 4 critical direct customer service activities: conducting assessment, career planning, linking customers to supportive services, job matching and placement, and follow-up. Let's discuss the first, conducting assessment. Assessment is considered the foundation of effective case management. In adult education, we sometimes hear the term comprehensive assessment. This doesn't just mean, have you provided the regular intake assessments such as TABE, CASAS, and BEST assessments? This means, have you completed a number of assessments, interviews, and/or inventories to determine where your student is and if they are ready to continue in your program and be a successful completer. So let's discuss this further. Conducting assessment is gathering information about the customer's strengths and assets, needs and challenges, and interests and goals. There are so many assessments available that can help us assist our students in being successful. Other inventories will be mentioned later on, so let's continue. The assessments or surveys you conduct with customers work in conjunction with and guide the customer's ITEC plan and all other activities. So if you're wondering what an ITEC plan is, we will address this item shortly. But for now, ITEC stands for Integrated Training, Education, and Career Plan. So before we talk about the various assessments, let's talk about guidelines for conducting productive, high-quality assessments. We should use a comprehensive and exploratory approach that involves both formal and informal assessment. The process of assessing should be ongoing, meaning that assessment should be continuous as we provide various assessments to learn more about our customers throughout their time in our program. And we should provide multiple opportunities to reassess progress and determine potential barriers. We also want to make sure that the assessments are valid and reliable assessment tools. Valid or validity means that they measure what they say they are going to measure, and reliable means that they have been proven effective through research and studies. It is also important to conduct a variety of assessments to understand the customer as a whole and learn the areas where we can provide assistance as they move through our program to meet their goals. There are a wide variety of assessment tools available, and it's important to determine what assessments your program will be administering to better understand the individual needs of each customer. So let's review some of the assessment tools we have available. We have intake questionnaires, we have interviews, aptitude and abilities, and interest measures. So let's talk about them. So let's review the intake questionnaire, or the PIRL, the Participant Individual Record Layout. The PIRL has specific information that is to be collected for each customer. This information is transferred into the state's data entry system, or TEAMS, Texas Educating Adult Management System. Take a moment to review the profile and the various information that's collected. Interviews. We have formal interviews and informal interviews. Many programs assist participants with completing the PIRL through a one-on-one interview. Then we have assessments that measure one's aptitude and abilities. Assessments such as the TABE, Best Plus, Best Literacy, and CASAS. We have various tests that provide interest measures. One such interest measure is the RISIC, which is a theory of 6 personality types that focuses on career and vocational choice. The acronym RIASEC is used for the 6 personality types that it measures. The personality types are realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, and conventional. You could see these in the diagram. So once taken, this inventory provides the student with a code and matches the student to various professions based on their results. This inventory can be found on the O-Net website and on the Texas Workforce Labor Market Career Information website under the Texas Work Prep page. Take a moment to note the two URLs provided for the two websites mentioned. There are also various additional assessments available that measure the following: work and personal values measures, barriers to employment success inventory, personality inventories, occupational specific assessments, college readiness assessments, work readiness assessments, and there's also an offender reintegration scale assessment for our individuals that come from a correctional facility that might be on probation. You may want to look into the various assessments or inventories mentioned to determine which assessments you will be administering to customers in order to provide appropriate case management, comprehensive assessment, and career planning. So now that we've covered assessments and what their importance is, let's talk about career planning. Career planning consists of analyzing the customer's skills, interests, and other assessment results, examining labor market information, and working with the customer to develop their ITEC plan. You may be saying, there's that acronym again, ITEC. What is an ITEC plan? Well, ITEC stands for Individual Training, Education, and Career Plan. Every student must have one. It consists of the customer's goals and objectives and provides information about services that customers may need. It assists with the creation of goals, vision, next steps, and helps the customer keep track of milestones reached. This plan is where you keep all the results to the various assessments you have provided to the customer and should be revisited regularly by the program, by the case manager, and the customer. This form is created by each program to contain the essential elements discussed and can be adjusted regularly to meet program needs. Some programs throughout the state have shared their ITEC plans, and they can be found in the Career Pathways Community of Practice. So I'm going to walk you through giving you instructions, and then I'm going to show you a visual of what I have just discussed. So when you go to the Community of Practice, you will go to Topics in the Career Pathways Community of Practice. You will go to Topics and search for the folder titled ITEC Plans. We encourage you to add your ITEC plan to the Community of Practice because it's good to share your plans so that programs can gather ideas from seeing others as an example. Again, some programs throughout the state have shared their ITEC plans. They can be found in the Career Pathways Community of Practice. So log into the PD Portal account, go to Connect Communities, select Career Pathways Community of Practice, and when you're in the community, go to Topics, and you'll see that right here it's circled. Click on Topics and search for the folder titled ITEC Plan once you're in the community. It's good to share your plans so that programs can gather ideas from seeing others as an example. So I hope that you'll take the time to visit the Career Pathways Community of Practice. So now that we've covered career planning, let's talk about the third critical activity, linking customers to support services. Linking customers to support services has to do with coordinating access to other services that a customer may need to achieve their goal. These may consist of referring students to workforce centers to potentially qualify for workforce funding and assistance, to community partners to assist with needs such as food, rent, transportation, housing, or mental health needs, and any other relevant agencies available to assist with the customer's needs. Can you think of other agencies that would be helpful to have students that I have not mentioned here? Take a moment to jot them down. The fourth and final critical activity that you will be providing is job matching, placement, and follow-up. This may come as a referral from adult education and literacy to a workforce center partner, or you may even assist the customer in setting up their Work in Texas account to find job openings. Adult education and literacy programs already have or are developing partnerships with employers and have agreements to refer customers for jobs once they complete a training. Again, this factor is determined by your program, and the depth of these critical activities varies by program. For job placement, it is important to have knowledge of the customer's skills, interests, and career goals. In adult education, our goal for our students is college and career. So it's important to know what our students' interests and goals are in order to lead them in the right career path. Our adult students don't have a lot of time to waste and want to receive training and get to work as soon as possible. This is where career exploration and career planning come into play. These activities may have been completed as part of the program's integration of workforce activities or as part of the work done in completing the ITEC plan. We previously mentioned various inventories for job readiness, career interest, career exploration, to name a few. It's important to talk to each customer about the results and determine what the best fit is in terms of career choice. So, what will that best fit for them be? Some of the components of job matching, placement, and follow-up are knowledge of the customer skills, interests, and career goals, career exploration, career planning, and creating and reviewing a resume. Other job placement and follow-up activities could be interviewing skills, connecting customers to workforce centers for job search assistance, or to Work in Texas. Could also be follow-up, and follow-up could be at the 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, and 12-month mark. So now let's talk about the second component of case management, monitoring and documenting services and outcomes on a case-by-case basis. Each program should have some form or system for tracking, documenting services and outcomes. This documenting comes in the form of case notes. Case notes are a critical record of accountability for the case manager and the customer. Case notes should include detailed yet concise information. Progress towards or completion of a goal should be documented in the case notes. As we may encounter in our programs, we occasionally have various staff that come in contact with each customer. So having case notes can help provide crucial information to the next person that comes into contact with that customer. Efficiency comes from being more informed about what has happened or is happening with each customer. So now that we have established why documentation or case notes is so important, let's talk about the content of case notes, or what should be included in each entry to record contact with the customer. Case notes should be clear, relevant, and useful, and include information such as the date, the type of contact, whether in person, by phone, or web meeting, a description of the event, recounting of the interaction, how the interaction relates to the ITEC plan or progress, any issues that the customer may have, any referrals that are made, any resolutions, and next steps. Case notes, like the rest of the participant's record, is available to the participant as well as others to access. When documenting your case notes, it's important that you be aware of the language you're using and not use language that is negative, biased, or prejudicial. Also be aware that case notes are legal and binding, and they must contain only factual information and not opinion. Programs must set local policy regarding case notes. If you're not familiar with your local policy guidelines, make sure to get with your supervisor for guidance. Case notes recorded in any form cannot or should not be deleted or disregarded without permission. And finally, make sure that your case notes are grammatically correct. Be sure to grammar check and spell check your case notes. Next, we will cover skilled case management. This is one of the most important components because developing these skills is all up to the individual that will deliver the services to our customers. So in order to provide effective case management, there are several skills you should be aware of. Let's review the 5 case manager skills, and after we will discuss each skill individually. The skills are effective interviewing, developing rapport, ensuring confidentiality, active listening, motivating, supporting, and empowering. The first skill for case managers is effective interviewing. The interview is one of the most important parts of case management. It is through this process that the case manager is able to gain much insight into the customer. For an interview to be effective, a moderate amount of pre-planning needs to occur. So it's important to have an objective, meaning what is it that you want to gain from this interview, and how will this ultimately help you help the customer achieve their goal? And finally, how will you be better off after having conducted the interview? With that said, let's cover some tips for effective interviewing. Asking open-ended questions, probing, avoiding judgment, being sensitive to body language. So in the next section, we'll cover each of these tips in a little bit more detail. Let's start with asking open-ended questions. Asking open-ended questions helps to engage the customer in conversation. It's important to begin with open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are ones that require more than a one-word response. These types of questions allow you to get more information from your customer than if you were to ask closed-ended questions that can be responded to with a yes or no. Open-ended questions begin with the words such as who, what, where, and when. That is, they give the customer a chance to give a narrative response without being confined by the question. Such questions are good when one is seeking general or background information. The disadvantage is that they can cause an interviewee to ramble on endlessly. Let's talk about probing questions. Probing asks questions designed to gather additional information. Probing is asking follow-up questions when we do not fully understand a response or when answers are vague and ambiguous. Some examples of probing questions are, what additional work experience do you have? What is your current work situation? Where are you located? Maybe, who is your current childcare provider? Or, what is your backup plan to your current childcare? Can you think of other questions? Take a moment to jot some down. Let's talk about avoiding judgment. When we avoid judgment, we refrain from expressing judgment. According to Merriam-Webster dictionary, judgment is defined as the process of forming an opinion or evaluation by discerning or detecting with your eyes or comparing. So avoid forming an opinion about someone without really getting to know them. Take on the attitude that everyone is worth it and everyone can be successful given the right tools. Take a moment to read the quote by Junot Díaz. Again, avoid forming an opinion about someone without really getting to know them. The next is being sensitive to body language. Be sensitive to a customer's nonverbal responses. Body language is a type of nonverbal communication that relies on body movements such as gestures, posture, and facial expressions to convey messages. It's highly important to have proper body movements and posture while speaking. It helps to break the barrier of unfamiliarity and helps to form a better communication with the customer. It's also important to be aware of your customer's body language. You may be able to pick up on some cues that they may not be saying, yet displaying in their nonverbal communication. So take a moment to read Deborah Bull's quote about body language and reflect on that for a moment. So let's review the tips covered about effective interviewing. Asking open-ended questions, engage the customer in conversation. Probing, ask questions designed to gather additional information. Avoiding judgment, refrain from expressing judgment or forming an opinion before you get to know the customer. And be sensitive to body language. So let's continue. Next is developing rapport. As defined by Wikipedia, rapport is a close and harmonious relationship in which the people or groups concerned are in sync with each other, understand each other's feelings or ideas, and communicate smoothly. Rapport is basically an emotional connection with other people. Strong rapport allows for a connection to develop with the customer. Knowing your customer allows you to be able to better relate to and encourage that customer. It's important to match speech and body language. So We do not want to talk to our customers in a way that they don't understand what we're saying. So it's important to know each customer and talk to each in a way that you know they understand what you are telling them. And finally, show a genuine interest in your conversation by being present and attentive. In the next slides, I'll review some questions that you could consider asking when working on establishing rapport with your customers. The first is, how did you hear about our program? Or, what's the most important priority to you at this time and why? What would you like to accomplish? Another could be, how do you think this program can help you? What kind of challenges are you facing? Or, how can I help you achieve your goal? Always remembering to keep that non-judgmental tone. Can you think of any additional questions you might ask to help build rapport with your customers? Take a moment to think about them and write them down. As you continue to think about rapport, take some time to read and reflect on Tony Robinson's quote on rapport. I'll give you a moment and then we'll continue. The next is ensuring confidentiality when meeting with a customer. Make sure that you meet with the customer in a private environment. Always protect documents. Be aware of personally identifiable information, or PII. And again, maintain the privacy of your customers. Only share information with those involved in the customer's service plan. When we talked about building rapport, we mentioned being present and attentive. This is part of active listening. Active listening is making a conscious effort to hear not only the words that another person is saying, but more importantly, the complete message being communicated. In order to do this, you must really pay attention to the other person. It's important to be present and attentive in order to validate customers' experiences and their point of view. Some effective techniques are restating and paraphrasing, clarifying, and reflecting. Restating and paraphrasing. This is, in your own words, feed the customer statement back to assure understanding. Clarifying is ask questions to help clarify what the customer has said. Asking clarification questions is a simple but effective way to improve your understanding and your work efficiency. Some examples of clarifying questions are, did I paraphrase what you said correctly? Did I understand you when you said? Did I hear you correctly when you said? What's another way you might? Is that what you said? Did I hear you say? Can you think of any other ways to ask clarifying questions? Think about that as you reflect on the quote from Iowa Peace Institute message. I'll give you a moment. Let's talk about reflecting. Use information provided to link between stated goals and intended course of action. When you reflect back to the other person what they have said, it not only makes sure that you have understood, it also shows your interest in the other person and helps to build a relationship with them. Another purpose of reflecting is to allow the listener to hear their own thoughts and to focus on what was said in the conversation. Reflecting on the conversation allows one, as a case manager, to best understand the messages and determine next steps with each customer based on that conversation. Take a moment to read the quote by Susan Young on active listening. Finally, and another important aspect of being a skilled case manager is to be motivating, supporting, and empowering. Take the time to identify strengths and dreams that motivate the customer and keep the conversation positive. Focus on success, praise success, and redefine failures as learning opportunities. And when possible, use tangible rewards to motivate your customer. And help the customer learn to help themselves. Let's review the 5 case manager skills we just covered. The skills are effective interviewing, developing rapport, ensuring confidentiality, active listening, motivating, supporting, and empowering. Let's continue. I'll give you a moment to read and reflect on this quote by Roy T. Bennett. Now that we have covered all the aspects of being an effective case manager, let's move on to the 4th component of case management. The 4th component of case management is administrative policies and practices and system infrastructures that support case managers and the case management function. The first is training and staff development. So it's important for your program to have appropriate training in order to address the first 3 components of case management appropriately. The training provided will help to set the guidelines for all staff to follow when providing case management. So again, it's important to have that appropriate training in order to address the first 3 components. Second is workload management. Administration will determine the appropriate workload or number of customers a case manager, or in our case, career navigators, should be working with. If relationships do not really exist, your program should work towards or continue to develop relationships across agencies, exchange information about services, and establish formal customer referral processes. There are many organizations in the community that programs should be able to connect our students to for assistance, and develop these relationships for referrals can only help our students succeed. Many communities have community council meetings where programs share information. You may want to research and see if there's a community council meeting that occurs so you can connect with these organizations to support your students. So in the first component of case management, we talked about providing direct customer service activities. It is important that administration develop a procedure for gathering all of the required customer information. These administrative practices are the base of the model and should be determined in order to support your case management practices for the success of our customers and our program. Now that we've covered all four components, let's review them once more as we conclude this training. All case management contains four essential components. We discussed direct customer service activities, the monitoring and documenting services and outcomes on a case-by-case basis, skilled case managers, and administrative policies and practices, and system infrastructures that supports case managers and the case management function. So in this course, we addressed components of case management and why case management is an essential component of a customer-centered program, and how case management plays a critical role in helping support and motivate students, and what skills and tools are needed to be effective. So we hope that you have found this information beneficial to your work. Our students are counting on us to help them attain their goals. I want to leave you with the following quotes. Do what you can with what you have where you are, by Theodore Roosevelt. The greatest good you could do for another is not just share your riches, but reveal them their own, by Benjamin Disraeli. There is no greater joy, no greater reward than to make a fundamental difference in someone's life. Mary Rose McGeady. And I leave you with the final quote by Oprah Winfrey. I've come to believe that each of us has a personal calling that's as unique as a fingerprint, and that the best way to succeed is to discover what you love and then find a way to offer it to others in the form of service, working hard, and also allowing the energy of the universe to lead you. Thank you for participating in the Effective Case Management Key Concepts and Managing Effectiveness online course. You will need to complete a short quiz in order to be awarded course completion. This concludes this training.